Welcome back to Sports Talk ATL's College Football Gambling Locks Week 6. I had a bad week, folks. I'm back to 500. I almost feel like Larson, but just a little bit slightly better. But he's on the way up. I don't know. Is this a trend? Am I going down? I don't know, but let's get into it. Week 6, kind of a weird slate. We got some really big games and then not a lot after that. We got some bye weeks mixed in, so let's get into it. We start off the week, Western Kentucky, Louisiana Tech, +6, -6. Western Kentucky is favored. Melvin?
Nah.
Kansas State and Oklahoma State.
Weird Friday game.
Oklahoma State is bad, guys.
Yeah, they are.
I'll take Kansas State. Put me on that shit.
Mike Gundy needs to be in the same breath as Jimbo Fisher. Guy's a top 10. He's one of the highest paid coaches in college football. That's crazy.
Hot seat.
Well, Jimbo's going to beat Alabama Saturday, so.
I know. I agree. But that's later. Nebraska and Illinois. Holy crap, what a game.
Illinois 0-5 against the spread. Yeah, 0-5 against the spread for Illinois. I lean Nebraska here, but they burned me too many times. I'm good.
I'm done with Nebraska.
Army and Boston College. Yeah, after betting them money line last week, I'm done.
Yeah, that was just...
Forgot about that.
Yeah.
Louisiana State and Missouri. Jesus Christ.
What the fuck did you just say? Louisiana State?
LSU. I'm reading the board.
The State University of Louisiana.
I do have one here. All right, go ahead, Jake, if you want to go.
I took Missouri +7. I think these teams both have abysmal pass defenses and great pass offenses. This should actually be a fun game. LSU Ole Miss was probably the best game of the year so far last week, or at least one of them. I might look to play the over here as well. Like I said, both of these teams can't stop a nosebleed, but they can pass the ball. It should be a lot of points. 64.5 isn't crazy. So I might take the over, but I'm definitely have Missouri +7.
I would recommend taking the over LSU or Missouri line. I'm going to take LSU's team total. Somebody said it earlier, 34.5. That's easy. I mean, LSU's offense is 35.5. LSU's offense is arguably the most explosive in college football. Jayden Daniels would be in the Heisman contention had they not lost 2 games or just not lost last week. Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas are the best wide receiver duo in football. It's not even particularly close if we're talking about actual numbers. LSU over 35.5 is an absolute lock, a mortal lock.
It's probably the best offense other than Georgia's.
Yeah, probably.
What? Okay.
Keep going.
Wisconsin and Rutgers. Give me the fight.
I got another play. I got Rutgers +14, baby. Undefeated against the spread. Rutgers spread, baby. The fighting Greg Schiano's. I love Gavin Wimsatt. I love Rutgers. Wisconsin has been very, very shaky this year. I might look to play Rutgers money line. I'm not making that an official play, but do not be surprised if this game is close late. I got Rutgers +14.
Win total cash before October. How about that?
Exactly. The fighting Greg Schiano's, babe. Greg Schiano does nothing but cover.
We said it at the beginning of the year. The guy's a fucking cover machine. Love him.
He is.
Love him.
He is.
Toledo and UMass.
Ooh.
Game of the week, we got Oklahoma and Texas. I will take Texas -6. This is where Oklahoma gets exposed. I like Texas.
Yeah, I kind of want to play Texas here. I'm not going to make it an official play, but it's definitely going to be on my mind Saturday morning. This might be like an 11:55 submission because I feel Texas, and I've watched Oklahoma this year, and they're not infallible. And I've seen Texas play well before, but this is a rivalry game, and that's the thing is you can throw out the record books, as they like to say.
Yeah, well, they could have thrown them out last year too because Texas won 49-0. Texas is a better team this year. Oklahoma's a better team this year, but
Oklahoma is 5-0 against the spread. Worth noting.
Listen, I've watched every single Oklahoma game. I bet on 4 of their games. I should have bet them last week. I didn't. I tried to talk Chase into Venables. Their offense is for real. Dylan Gabriel's for real. They've just won in multiple ways. They scored 50 points. They've played a slugfest. They've won with their defense. The fact of the matter is this Texas team is a national contender, and this Oklahoma team isn't. The difference between this Texas team and a lot of other Texas team is the beef up front. They are for real in the trenches. I like Texas -6 as well.
Yeah, I think Texas too. I don't have an official bet on the game. I think Texas's 3 best opponents they've played all beat out Oklahoma's best opponents. I hate to be the guy that says Oklahoma
transitive property guy.
But yeah, it's just
Oklahoma hasn't played anyone. What are we talking about? The toughest opponent was Iowa State. They played Arkansas State, SMU, and Cincinnati, bro. They haven't played anybody. Listen, congrats. They covered some spreads against some bad teams. Is that going to matter on Saturday? Absolutely not. No one cares that you're 4-5-0 against the spread. Texas is a significantly better team. I'm still not buying this Oklahoma. I will say they have shown an ability to win in multiple ways.
Do?
I'm not buying. I mean, listen, they might go 11-1 this season, but they don't play anybody. They don't play anybody.
I have to agree with Chase here. I'm not sold on Oklahoma either.
I mean, all they can do is beat who's in front of them, and they've done that.
I might look to play Mississippi State here. They've been pretty miserable against the spread, but I think this might be one of their games where they actually stand up and say, "Hey, we're still a respectable program." Western Michigan is not very good. I've faded them a few times this year. I might look to play Mississippi State. I'm not making that official, but we're putting it on. We're putting it on watch.
Mississippi State is a disgusting team. Just don't put your money there. Just don't do it to yourself.
That actually, that's a great point. You've talked me out of it.
just don't even.
You don't want to have to. You don't want to have to put yourself to cheer through that. That's the thing. It's like you don't want to have to be like,
you're right.
I'm relying on this fucking team. You don't want to.
Here's an interesting game right here: is Maryland and Ohio State, 2-5-0 teams. This is the kind of game. What do we say about Ole Miss? Which obviously Ole Miss beat LSU, so they kind of put that to rest. But they don't. Like Maryland always starts off the year 5-0, and then they just go and they start getting their ass whipped by good teams. This feels like Ohio State should really stomp them. But how sold are we on Kyle McCord and them like putting up enough points to cover 20 points?
See, Maryland's defense is not that. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say preseason. Me and Larson, we said we took Maryland's win total because we said they're going to be 5-0 coming into this game because they haven't played very good teams. I think the only Big Ten team they played is Michigan State, and we all know how miserable they are. But there's a lot of public on Maryland, and there's a lot of Maryland love coming in, and we all know how this is going to go.
Yeah. Talia is a great quarterback. Nothing like Tua, but their defense stinks. And Ohio State's offense still's got guys. They've got first-round guys all over the offense. They've got first-round picks along that defensive line. I think Ohio State blows them out. This is the game that everybody goes, oh.
If Maryland upsets one of those like Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State, it wouldn't shock me one bit. I just don't know which it's going to be. Like they could be frisky in one of those games. It's not going to be my money on it.
Yeah. They're going to be
frisky in one of those games. It's just like the other two, they're going to lose by 42.
The Penn State and Michigan spots are a lot better for Maryland too.
Yeah, I agree. I think Penn State is the upset. Like that's what I would put my money on.
Marshall and NC State.
I'm putting NC State on upset alert. Don't be surprised if you turn on your TV, Marshall wins this game outright. I'm not betting it, but I got a feeling.
I wouldn't be surprised by that at all. UTSA and Temple.
I'm done betting UTSA.
I laid the number. I did lay the number with UTSA. Frank Harris should be back, and their coach came out, Jeff Traylor, and said that this is a team that's pissed off, that's getting a lot healthier. Temple stinks. I think it's a good wake up spot.
I was about to say I've never bought a fucking coach going up to the podium and say we're pissed off. I've never bought that in my life.
I'm gonna buy it when they're getting their quarterback back. I need it.
Central Michigan and
the number.
Buffy, nothing. Here we go. Washington State, UCLA. That's an intriguing matchup at UCLA. UCLA minus 3.5. Washington State can really insert themselves into the playoff conversation with the win on the road here.
Yeah, I'd be tempted to play Washington State here, but this is. I think we're starting to get into the time where I'm afraid the Pac-12 is going to start cannibalizing themselves. This is a spot where UCLA, after losing to Utah, could come out and win outright, and all of a sudden we get a lot of Pac-12 teams with 1 losses in October.
I agree. I think upset alert, upset alert, upset alert.
Purdue and Iowa. Oh, what a game! What a game!
I lean Purdue because McNamara's out. But
teams.
Yeah.
Shit teams. You couldn't pay me to watch this game.
Clemson and Wake Forest.
That's too many points for Clemson. I'm done with Clemson. Yeah, never mind.
They covered last week.
I got my win on them. I'm vindicated. And now
I think they cover again. Like I think
they'll cover this. I'm not going to bet it though.
I think Clemson's a good football
team.
team.
Wake Forest is really bad.
Wake Forest is really bad.
Virginia Tech and Florida State.
Florida State should cover this easily, but this is a wrap.
Yeah, they should. Yeah, they should.
Syracuse and North Carolina. Give me the fight.
This could be an over.
Give me the fight in Cuses.
This could be an over.
Give me the fight in Cuses plus 8.5.
Cuses.
That tight end they got is for real. That guy is so good. I don't know his name, but he looked unbelievable against Clemson.
North Texas and Navy.
This is one of my favorite bets of the week. I'm going to lay points with Navy. North Texas, we were really wrong on them preseason. There are 133 teams in the FBS, right? North Texas is 133rd in rush yards allowed per game. They are dead last. They're giving up
Sounds good to me.
per game.
I think
They're
I'm
giving
gonna
up
take Navy.
7 yards per carry. They haven't been playing juggernauts either. Navy is 5th, of course, in the FBS in rush yards per game. North Texas has given up 31 points in every game. They've played some bummy teams. Navy should be able to absolutely control this game from the jump. We saw them take an early lead against Memphis when they kept that game close a few weeks ago, and they were able to control that. Last week, they struggled with USF because they couldn't control the game because USF was real fast. So I'm expecting a lot of Navy points here. I sprinkled their team total over. I think it's a bloodbath. So I'll take it.
Yeah,
I don't
think
usually
Navy
bet
as
on
well.
the armed. I don't bet on armed forces, but
Yeah.
You just convinced me.
The public is all over North Texas here. I don't get that. Like, they're one of the most heavily bet teams this week.
I see they're all over Navy, maybe on different sites.
Texas State and ULL.
I actually have a play for this. I got ULL at -1. This line has already jumped like crazy. ULL should be able to handle them. I think Texas State's being a little overvalued right now because they do have some good wins, but ULL is all the signs point to them. They're at home. Give me the Raging Cajuns.
Yeah, Texas State beat Southern Miss, Nevada, and Jackson State. Those teams are horrible.
They also beat
Yeah,
Baylor.
and they
Yeah.
well, yeah, they did beat Baylor, but I do think they're being overvalued.
But that loss
and
looked
I
a lot.
think-
That win looks a lot worse now. We realize who Baylor actually is. But yes,
Eastern Michigan and Ball State. Nothing.
Nope.
Bowling Green and Miami of Ohio.
big win for Bowling Green last week.
Kent State and Ohio.
Can't read, can't write, can't state.
NIU and Akron. Geez, these games are like pissing me off to look at.
These are Tuesday night. These are like Wednesday night.
That game belongs on a Wednesday.
All right, here we go. Finally, Alabama and Texas. Texas is now down to a 1.5 point favorite after opening at 3. I love Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M wins this outright. I think Bama fans are going to be very unhappy with themselves on Saturday. Which, listen, as an LSU fan, it's okay, guys. We'll get through it together.
I
Yeah,
switched my
this is
tune
the
on
year
this
to-
one. Go ahead.
I was going to say this might be the game. This might be where Jimbo gets over the hump because if he wins this, they should win the West.
I mean, they've already gotten over this hump. They've already
I'm also
beat.
going under 47.
They've already beaten Bama, and let's not forget that A&M.
Oh, I'm talking about them making it to Atlanta. I'm talking about making it to Atlanta because if they win,
I mean, they still got a long road, just like LSU still has a long road. They got to beat Bama. They got to beat A&M. A&M's got to beat Ole Miss. They got to beat Bama. I mean, and LSU. Like, I don't buy that at all. The SEC West, regardless of what happens this weekend, is still anybody's division.
No one comes out of the SEC West with one loss. I'll tell you that. Everyone's going to have at least 2 losses. Whoever wins the division is going to have 2 losses.
I've switched my tune on this. At the beginning of the week, I had seen A&M just not do enough against that Auburn team to really convince me. Kept shooting themselves in the foot. Kyle Field, Bama might not be as good as that Ole Miss win might look good in theory, and they barely put that Ole Miss defense is horrid. And the only reason we're talking about this big Ole Miss win is because LSU's defense is just worse. But Ole Miss's defense is terrible. I think that Jalen Milroe is going to be in hell. A&M's defense is for real. Low scoring game for sure.
They've looked fantastic since that Miami game where they couldn't catch a cold. But I think Texas A&M has a good defense, and it's going to be in front of a hostile crowd. I think this game's going to be low scoring. It might be like first 1 to 20. Alabama could win, but it's going to be like a 3-point game.
Yeah, and if you look at the trenches, I got to give the edge to A&M, and that makes it comfortable as a home underdog for me as well.
Alabama, UCF.
I was going to say Alabama. Since 2019, they've played 7 games on the road against ranked opponents. They're 2-5 against the spread. They've lost 3 of them outright. We know that about Alabama. They struggle on the road in these big games.
Kansas and UCF.
Weird game, weird line. 2 teams that had bad weeks. I don't know if you saw UCF blew a 28-point lead or whatever. Kansas got touched on. I would lean Kansas here. I don't know if I'm going to make that an official play, but yeah.
UCF just extended Gus Malzahn, and I don't know what that means, but it means something.
USF and UAB.
Come on, Bulls. We're so close.
Win total. Come on, baby. UAB's awful. Let's go. This is going to be our USF over 3.5 wins.
Arkansas State and Troy.
Troy's been bad against the spread. They've been bad against the spread this year. They're still
yeah. My favorite bet of the week is up next, guys. Florida and Vanderbilt. You know, the fade Billy Napier. Every week we do the same thing. We sit here and talk about the same thing. That team is awful. Billy Napier is awful. This is where I finally get my vindication. Not only does Vanderbilt covered, for the second year in a row, they beat the Gators. They go into the swamp and they beat the Gators.
This is how Billy Napier's Florida teams are. Yeah, they're 0-6 against the spread. You know, it's that immovable object, unstoppable force. Florida sucks. Vandy sucks. What gives? And this is what I think. And it's this Florida team is just very hit and miss. They come out and they surprise you. They look good. That win against Tennessee. Oh, Billy Napier's the savior. They go out and lay an egg against Kentucky. Oh, fire this guy. Back on track. I like Florida 18.5.
Vandy.
Does anybody like that?
Vandy wins it. Let's go, baby. Commodores. Rice and UConn.
UConn has been the biggest disappointment this year.
The fact that you're going to put actual money on Vandy, God.
You mean
won outright last year.
Actual money on Vandy.
They won. Yeah, I mean, they got to cover a spread eventually. They're not going to go 0-15.
In fact, they don't.
0-12.
In fact, they don't.
UConn has been the biggest disappointment this year.
Vandy didn't cover? Oh, I thought Vandy covered against Missouri. Wait, we got to switch my record.
No, I
boys.
took Missouri that game.
We got to switch my record because I had Missouri. I thought Vandy covered. We're back over 500. Over 500 alert. This whole thing has been a fraud. This whole show is fraudulent.
At least you're not buying points for your record.
Because I am 36-34. Because I am 36-34. A fraud.
You know, if I say it, it counts. Like that's them the rules. It counts.
I'm gonna start buying every spread by 3.5 points.
It's +4, but I'm gonna buy it to +7.
Yeah, it's actually +10.5.
What are we just acting like I did? I bought half a point.
I don't want to hear
it. I'm gonna tease it.
And then it worked out. Like, what are we talking about?
You can do that on your own time. This show is not about buying points. There are no buying points on this show. This is a straight bet. All right. Tulsa and FAU.
No, I'm gonna say I'm taking Rice. I'm taking Rice.
Oh, you have the Fighting Rices.
Oh, you're
steamed or fried?
You're taking the Rice Owls. I'm taking the Florida Atlantic Owls against Tulsa. Give me 3.5. Yeah.
What about Colorado and ASU? This seems like an ASU game. This seems like an ASU game.
Unfortunately,
I think I'm going ASU +4. Everyone's obviously always on Colorado. I don't see it with Colorado. I really think what happened last week was more about USC being like the 6th best team in the Pac-12 and less about Colorado being a competent team.
You would be correct. So what was the stat? They're 5th in explosive plays allowed.
Arizona State defense ranks at the top of the country in preventing explosive plays, which is one of the reasons that USC struggled. And what does Colorado do? They do a lot of explosive plays, not to mention Colorado's a team that's not built to keep a lead because they can't run the ball unless they play USC, and they can't play defense. And Arizona State's getting their best quarterback back, not Rashada, but the other guy, the best option, Bourget, back from injury. And, this Colorado team's played a lot of big games. There's got to be a sense of fatigue at some point.
Colorado's also getting much healthier than they were last week, especially in the secondary.
In Arizona State, they can't make a bowl game this year. They're ineligible for a bowl game. Like, this is their bowl game. This is their Super Bowl, just like the USC game was. I think it's going to be a crazy atmosphere. And 4.5.
Georgia and Kentucky. No way. You couldn't convince me to bet on Georgia anymore.
I'm not betting on Georgia again. I betting on Georgia just pisses me off. But here's the thing. I do think they cover the spread this week. I think this is the week they come alive. Teams that go on the road and play games like that, I feel like they usually come home and perform pretty well. The strength of Kentucky's offense is running up the middle. They cannot complete a forward pass. Similar to Auburn, but they can't run on the edges and run that outside zone like Auburn was running. I don't think Kentucky is just going to go out there and manhandle Georgia, and that's how you have to beat them at home. I just don't see that happening. I think Georgia actually does win by 2 touchdowns. The problem is Mark Stoops is one of those guys. He's one of those coaches. He's very aware of the spread. He will try to cover. He's done it before. He did it in 2020.
2021, yeah.
Yeah.
South Alabama.
He came down the field with
South Alabama and Ole Monroe.
UL Monroe is 5-0 against the spread as a double-digit home underdog under Terry Bowden. They won for us earlier in the year against Army. They're sneaky good at home.
Old Dominion and Southern Miss.
Southern Miss.
We got an interesting game here in Arkansas and Mississippi. Can Mississippi come off that high, rush the field, everything? They still got a home game. To me, I think I like the Pigs here. I just think Ole Miss is deep. Like I think Arkansas is going to struggle a lot against teams with anywhere near a competent defense. But you saw they were able to score against LSU. I think they're going to be able to score a little bit against Ole Miss. I would fade them against anyone with a competent defense, but I think they'll be able to keep this within the numbers strictly because I think they'll be able to finally put up some points against Ole Miss.
Upset alert. This is just Lane Kiffin to a T. Biggest win of the year. LSU kind of control their own destiny in the West. They win. They're going to Atlanta. Throw up a stinker against Arkansas the next week. That just feels like Lane Kiffin. I love the guy, but that feels like Lane Kiffin. I'm not playing this one, but I would not be surprised if the Pigs won.
Notre Dame and Louisville.
I was going to say before we get to that, I'm here in Little Rock. There's a lot of people having the Sam Pittman conversation for Arkansas, which is important and it needs to be had. So there's that.
His tits are huge, though.
They are.
Great
setup. Yeah. Hey, I love Louisville here. This is one of my other favorite bets of the week because I've heard too many people say that Louisville sucks because of last week 3-point win against NC State, who's not very good. That's one where you got to dive into the box score. Louisville completely dominated them, outgained them by 100 yards, threw for almost 200 more passing yards, and they had a ton of positive drives. They had 3 horrible turnovers. One of them gifted NC State some points. One of them was right when they were about to score. They threw an interception. It was a game that could have easily been a blowout. A few plays changed that. It doesn't change how I think about Louisville. I think that they're still a really good football team. And Notre Dame, I did not think was that much better than Duke. No. You know, what if Duke doesn't make those 2 chip shots at the beginning of the game?
Or what if they just stop a 4th and 16 and the game's over?
Exactly. I think, and the public loves Notre Dame here. I think it's kind of a fraud kind of a game. And I like Louisville at home. They've got USC next week. Notre Dame does. It's 4 big games in a row. One of these, they've got to come out a little bit flat. So I like the Cardinals.
Michigan and Minnesota. Way to go, Michigan.
I was on Michigan early. This line
you did what Georgia couldn't do.
Michigan should absolutely smush Minnesota. Georgia's 1-4 against the spread. Michigan should absolutely smush Minnesota.
On the opening spreads 0-5.
I was going to say we're 1-4. What did we cover? I don't.
The Ball State. If you had 42, they won by 42, but it closed at 42.5. So it was either a tie. If you had 41.5, 40, it was like that.
Anyways, Michigan opened at 21, and I took them at 20.5, and then they dropped a full point, and I don't quite know why that is. So I backed off them for now, but I might take them closer to kickoff because the fact of the matter is this is a team that lost to Northwestern, and we saw what Michigan could do last week. They might finally have come alive with Jim Harbaugh back in the saddle. They should squish Minnesota. I don't really see any reason that they wouldn't, but the line movement is making me nervous.
Michigan has allowed 3 points, 7, 6, 7, 7.
Nobody has run a play inside their 10-yard line.
Yeah.
That is a fact.
That's wild.
I like Michigan to cover that. Georgia Tech and Miami.
All right, Georgia Tech is officially not back. Last week was embarrassing. Brent Key, fire him. No, I'm just kidding. They're just getting the program off the ground. Miami probably kills them.
Well, look, okay. Plug your nose.
Talk me off the ledge.
Plug your nose. Hold your breath. We're going to take Georgia Tech plus 21.
All right, I'm riding.
We're going to take the Yellow Jackets. Miami off of a bye, but they got North Carolina and Clemson coming up. I can't imagine they were totally locked into this Georgia Tech game. They're going to be locked into those games. This is a classic buy low spot. Georgia Tech was totally embarrassed last week. They somehow only had the ball for 16 minutes of a 60-minute game last week against Bowling Green because they threw 2 interceptions, and they still racked up 400 yards in 16 minutes. So the offense can move the ball. They can score some points. If they can get 17 here in Miami, I think that should be enough. And they've bounced back really well after their losses. We saw them, they win at upset Wake Forest, who I know is not very good, but they got a good win there. They bounced back well after their losses, and I think that they can put up enough here to cover. It could be a backdoor. It could be sweaty, but I'm going to take Georgia Tech.
It could also be a first half. Georgia Tech's been good at keeping games close in the first half. This may be a first half spread play as well.
Yes.
Texas Tech and oh my God, disgusting.
Yeah, awful game.
TCU and
also
Iowa.
TCU.
Oh my God, disgusting.
Also disgusting.
Disgusting. These are all gross. Colorado State and Utah State. Good, gross. Fresno State and Wyoming. This is a fun one.
Probably the two best G5 teams in the country
This is a
outside of Air
fun
Force.
one.
My Falcons. They got to bye this week. Air Force. But I wouldn't be surprised if Wyoming wins outright. I'm probably not going to bet this one since I have Wyoming's win total and Fresno State's win total. Yeah. So I'm just going to let them have it out.
The win total is huge. I'm the same way. I would be betting Wyoming if I didn't have the win total. Fresno's strength of schedule, 131st in the country out of 133 FBS teams. They have not played anybody. The Arizona State game was a fluke. They beat Purdue, which was, cool. Purdue's not very good.
They played Nevada.
Wyoming is so good at home as an underdog since 2016, 15-6 against the spread as a home underdog.
They thrive the Cowboys. They've made me money this year.
And they make talented teams. Their defense is so good they can make these talented teams have to play ugly, and some teams can't do that. Wyoming's live here.
All right, we're wrapping up this show. San Jose State and Boise State.
San Jose State sucks. Which
Oregon State at Cal. Yeah.
Really,
I'd be tempted to play Oregon State. Another team whose win total I have, so I'll just leave that one alone.
All right, last game of the slate, and you know where I'm going.
Get to the part where you bet the over. Yeah,
throw it up. Over 72. Over 72. It never fails. It never fails. They can't play defense. It's the worst defense I've ever seen, and they're going to score 50. They're going to score 50.
Well, the thing is with their I'm just going to go back to last week's Colorado game. They should have covered that game. The fact that Lincoln Riley still hasn't learned the fact that when you're up by 30 points, just maybe slow the ball down or at least take the clock down. They were snapping the ball up 30 points with like 17 seconds left on the clock. Lincoln Riley is an autistic genius. He is an idiot, dude. I don't know what is wrong with him. He has not learned time and time again. He could have wasted 4 minutes off the total clock and probably covered had he just taken the play clock down to 5 seconds every single time. Guy's an idiot.
Yeah, but what would that do? What would that do for my overs? So just keep doing it, Ryan.
You're right.
I sat here for 3 weeks and touted USC minus 12. Like I was so proud, and I could tell. It was so easy to see Colorado was coming in the back door. I was so pissed.
Yeah. Hey, well, that wraps up our show this week. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll be back for week 7. Hey, let's have a week, boys. Let's get some wins.
Yep.